Hey everybody, Jay Schlansky here from the Fifth Trooper Network. I just want to take a moment to thank you for checking out this show. Did you know that over at thefifthtrooper.com we have tons of other content, including blogs, other podcasts, all kinds of stuff. In addition, if you want access to exclusive content, you can join us on patreon.com/thefifthtrooper and join at any level and you'll get access to exclusive blog articles, access to our private Discord, and much more. So please check us out, and thank you so much for all your support.
Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Mike and Tim. What's up, gentlemen?
Yo, I just finished painting Delta Squad.
Nice.
I just got back from travels.
Yeah, welcome back. Back from across the pond.
Yep. No painting done.
Oh,
But you got some playing done, which is good.
I did.
Did you real quick, did you do anything else fun while you were over there?
Well, I did have my fiddle with me, and I was in Ireland for 8 days. So
Okay. You're a real
Anyways.
Renaissance man. Beekeeper, fiddler.
Yep.
Lord Traveler.
Yep. Also played some guitar and banjo too.
There you go.
Just stole those out of people's hands as I needed them.
Tim's gonna play us in every episode from now on.
I would need a music credit.
I don't know.
I mean, I can't do that.
You could what I want to see from you now is like, 'cause this is the thing, since that's what, 3 different instruments that you just listed there. Do like a what is it, a trio when you have 3, right? Do a trio of yourself where you like record each part and then overlay them over each other.
It, that it's been on my docket for a while. Well, at some point I'll get it done.
I mean, I feel like you gotta take it a step further and do one of those like one-man band things where they like got all these like crazy contraptions hooked up and they're like
they're
you know,
playing an instrument like what they got like a harmonica and they're like, yeah.
and they got like drums strapped to their legs.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah.
Anyway, I do have to ask about your list name because Mike and I were wondering, is that a Commonwealth joke? What does that mean?
So I stayed with Andy, AGST. And the entire time before I got there, when I got there, he's like, you're gonna find Cambridgeshire so flat. And I went, I don't think so. Then I show up and I looked out his
Like
window.
physically flat?
Physically flat.
Okay.
And you could see rolling hills out of his window, and I went, it's therefore not flat, because where I live in Manitoba, you can stand in an area, do a 360 and see no elevation change.
It is actually flat.
Perfectly
It is
flat.
actually flat.
Yes.
So I that would just basically, as is the UK tradition, all their list names are just jokes and like making fun of each other. So I had to adhere to the culture and make fun of Andy a little bit.
There you go. So Manitoba is flatter than Cambridgeshire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense then.
Yeah. I did listen last week, and you're like, is this a Commonwealth joke? I'm like, I guess technically.
I mean, you're referencing two different places that are in the Commonwealth, so
yeah,
right.
So technically correct. Your favorite type of correct.
That is the best kind of correct.
Most of the time.
Yeah. All right. Tell us about the actual tournament. How'd you do? What you got some takeaways? I know Mike wants to hear about how this crazy rebel list worked because you played Jeff, who ultimately won. So
I also want to hear how this really bad Inquisitor list went.
So let's start with yes, I got top 4, which meant I had to wake up on Sunday after a long night of karaoke. So woot woot.
Woe is you, man.
Woe is me. I got 1.5 hours of anywho. So my list, I have only ever played Empire once before, an Invader League, like 3 years ago. for like 3 games or something. So I said, screw it, let's play Empire because I was borrowing Andy's models. Thanks, Andy. So this was sort of a collection of ideas that both Jesse and Andy, and then I kind of mixed them together to make a list. Jesse being Jesse from Quebec, and Andy being Andy, who I stayed with. So we had Krennic naked, so he did a whole lot. Callus with staff and gear, both Inquisitors. This is where it gets fun. They had the Inquisitors training, did the Fray, Force Push, both of them. 40 units of Storms, well, all with T21s. 2 of them had medical droids, and an IRG with Protector. And basically, this list is a pretty aggressive list. Andy had been playing something simpler, but he had not had Krennic in the list. And Krennic gives you Compel, which means you can just kind of keep shoving your stuff forward. And with the IRG being able to suck up a bunch of wounds, and then med bots either being used probably on the Inquisitors if they're going to take wounds, or what actually ended up happening more is I just used the med bots on Storms to keep everything kind of healthy for the initial engagement, and then just start throwing a bunch of dice in the opponent's face and get the Inquisitors in. And having both Inquisitors is one, if you manage to get them both in, you're just cooking at that point because now you have 2 force pushes in, and it's pretty hard to deal with that. And if excuse me, and then if you need to, when you have 2 or both the Inquisitors, you can kind of sacrifice one of them, like way more willy-nilly. Like if you have 2 force users that cost less than 103 points each, if one just gets shot off the board, but it achieves like getting the other one in completely safely, it's sometimes worth it. And usually what I was doing was sort of being more aggressive with Fifth Brother. He has an extra wound, and you kind of wanted to take a couple wounds to activate his charge, and then sort of bringing Sister behind to clean stuff up. And it worked. Went top 4. Managed to win a game against an OB Pike gunline without ever shooting a shot, because I knew that I was not ever going to kill anything. He had like OB, he had all the dodges. He had in vigilance, so like there was just never a time where I was getting enough volume of fire to ever actually hurt him. So we played key positions. So
Sure.
I just spent the entire game cycling around this building back and forth, so that whenever a squad got shot, pulled it back, used up the med bots, used up the IRG, which meant at the end of the game I had like all the squads were like I think they all had 4 models or more going into the last round. And then just charge the middle. I had both Inquisitors there, so I shut down his force push, and I force pushed 2 of his things off, and won very narrowly, but I did win. Without ever shooting a shot, which felt like a bingo square unlocked.
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah.
Did you
That
make
was
did
good.
you make any attacks at all?
Yeah.
No, did not roll a single attack.
We were just this was a topic of discussion, I think, a little bit ago in the Discord. It was basically like, has anyone ever won a game without making an attack? And if so, like what sort of list would you design to do that? So that's a perfect example, because you still had an interactive game where like somebody was attacking. It wasn't one of those weird games where somebody like misunderstands the tiebreak or something, and one player is just chilling when they should be attacking, and the other player's like, all right, I guess I win if we just keep going. You actually had some interaction and stuff. So
I will say Jack was a little frustrated, not frustrated in the right way of he had all his defensive tech and I refused to throw attack dice at him. But there was exactly one opportunity where I could have thrown attack dice, and it was right at the end of the game. Fifth Brother charged in, but Obi had played his 2-bit, and Fifth Brother was on 1 or 2 wounds left, so I didn't attack because no point. And if I would have attacked, he could have deflected back and killed him. So my one opportunity to attack, I was like, nope.
Maybe that's the trick against Obi-Wan. Just don't attack anything.
I think most of the time you're happy with that. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, like
I'm not actually advising that universally, but
yeah, this was a very specific circumstance.
Okay.
The other interesting thing, because of the format, we'll get to the fun game as the last one, but so my 5th game, it's the last game of Swiss. I played Liam. He was playing Wookiee Battle Force with Flutters. I did not respect the Flutters enough. He ended up winning that one. However, I ended up squeaking into the top 8 And guess who I'm playing first round of top 8? Liam, right again, because Andy made it just reset it. So we did a top cut and then just reset to a top cut tournament. So then there was actually 2 of the pairings had the same opponent. So we played again and then ended up winning that one. Respected the flutters enough that time, so woot woot. And then we do the fun game, the one that Mike here was very confused about. Let me pull up the list. So playing against Jeff, who was the one who ended up winning the tournament. And this is in classic UK listing fashion. I believe it was Andy who told them this. You might win 1 or 2 games, but that'll be it. And he
Andy
made
was
that his list
right.
title.
And Andy had the right idea.
So it was Din with a bunch of stuff, including a comms jammer, which was important. An R2D2 who was clutch. Fleets with Electro Binocs, 2 vets with heavies, 2 Mark 2s, Ewoks with the charge thing, the swoop bikes, laser cannon, and an X34. Now, one of the keys of this list is the X34, so it has a gonk on it, RPS 6, wedge, an ion blaster, and A2 uplink. What this land speeder is doing every turn is 3 actions. It's compulsory at some point, a recover, and an attack. With wedge, because wedge gives you a free pivot, it's able to just basically move sideways almost at the edge of range 4. So it just sits at range 4, shooting that pretty good pool. The fleet troopers have an electro binocular, so they're throwing an aim on it. So it is still getting an aim for that. And it has order control. So, and especially in this meta with a lot of EXD, or at least this turn didn't have a lot of EXD, but they're the known baddie. This list has the X34 that has an ion, so it can strip shield. It also has a comms jammer on it, so you got this for the double EXC / just droids in general counter. And then it's just a bunch of hodgepodge. Basically, he sits back at range with all the stuff that has range and plinks some shots in, and then comes in with Din. R2D2 goes and gets a secret mission. I think he got secret mission in every single one of the games he played. And then he has the Ewoks to just be a cheap go get some points squad or charge in if things get basically it's linebacker. Basically it's just a lot of stuff that does a lot of stuff. And he's just a very good player. And the land speeder can also like ferry R2 around. R2 can heal it. The land speeder can also ferry Din around. But the thing that was very noticeable very quickly is basically he's like, yeah, I have a Rebel Din that has order control. That's sort of like the top line of this list. And when Din gets his tokens, because he has independent aim and dodge, he is pretty good. When he doesn't get those tokens, he's pretty meh. So being able to get all those tokens, we played recover. He put his 2 boxes on the very edge of the map. R2 got one, the Ewoks got the other. I put mine right near the middle and just tried to play a game of I need to capture all 3 in the middle and then kill something. We ended up going down to like 50 points of kill point difference. He won. But yeah, this was definitely a list that I obviously played in top 4, so I knew that it wasn't going to be a cakewalk. But it was very much I looked at it and went, I don't really know what this is going to do. And he's threatening 2 different extra victory points with R2 and Din. And that's important. And he has a decent amount of long range fire with 2 vets throwing critical shots in, the laser cannon and the X34 sitting back at range. Yeah, it's a lot. In this tournament, I noticed there's just a lot of threat saturation lists. Like Wookiees being one of them. I played Ollie, managed to beat Ollie by the skin of my teeth. That's also threat saturation list.
Yeah.
Where if play Jeff and he does where he throws one thing at a time, he will get picked apart. But he just goes for it. And if you go for it with this list, it works, obviously. So, yeah.
synergizing all the pieces in the right places together at the same time. Yeah, it can be tough.
Yeah, like it has like a one-off swoop fighters in here, and like alone they mean nothing. But when you have all these other things that hit harder and are easier to kill, well then you can't really deal with the swoops. But then the swoops are shooting you, sometimes getting you open shots because they're decent at that, overrunning you. I mean swoops I think did 5 or 6 wounds to my army in that game.
Sure.
Just because it was like I cannot pivot to face these. I have other threats in front of me that I had to deal with. So they were able to just like mill about and get some shots in. So yeah.
Interesting.
And yeah, and like to be fair, the list I was playing is also kind of in that same strain of threat saturation, right? Everything all needs to hit together. Compel is what lets you do that. Move, shoot, or double move into range. Move, shoot again, or aim, shoot next turn, or whatever. So like if my list does the thing where it doesn't all hit at once, it doesn't work at all, but it all has to hit at the same time. So
How much?
Sorry, go.
Oh, just how it was a personal list choice question. Basically, like how much did Callus do for you?
Quite a bit. He's my only good like long-ish range pierce gun. So you kind of like hide him for the first like 2 or 3 rounds, and then once all the like squads started to be depleted or like there's other threats on the board, then you bring Callus out. Once the opponent will have a tough time just like fully killing him, and then you can start clinking those shots. His command cards, or at least specifically command card ISP investigation, really adds a lot to this list because you have 2 units with cunning. You can really pick and choose when you want to go first and when you don't, and also like you can do the thing where you're preventing like Vader from getting Vader's Might on round 2 as hostage, and preventing a command card on round 6 for KP or something. His contingency also came into play. So I mean, my command cards were the Sisters 1 pip, Krennic's 1 pip. Oh wait, this doesn't list them as I'm trying to remember what. Callus's 1 pip was in contingencies. Krennic's was in my hand. And the 2 pips I had the permanent Inquisitor card that was always played first turn. And then the ISB investigation in my hand to play the garrison in contingency. And the 3 pips were Annihilation Looms and Ruthless Tactics. What I found is one of ISB investigation or deploy the garrison will be really, really good for a game, but usually not both. So I actually use contingencies basically every game. And I will tell you, deploy the garrison is really good with 2 Inquisitors if you ever get them in, and you can get them orders because you
For
can get
standbys
2
on melee units, yeah.
Yeah. Now turns out with as much comms jammers as we're running around this tournament because everyone was afraid of EXD, turns out the anti-Inquisitor tech was comms jammers.
Interesting. Yeah, because they don't give a
like,
lot of orders to themselves, unlike most focus
they
piece
do
force
not.
user types.
Yeah. So I one couldn't get them orders very well, but 2 just I think there was 2 times where I played deploy the garrison and couldn't get them orders because of comms jammer.
Interesting.
But even then, I think with deploy the garrison, I think I used it once, with a full effect on an Inquisitor. I used it. I actually there was one time with a comms jammer where I had gave it to something else and then gave it to Krennic, and Krennic actually did 2 wounds to a flutter. So just being able to get those, when you know you're not going to be needing ISB investigation, to put contingency and deploy the garrison is great. So yeah, I don't know. Callus, basically his gun is a pretty good little plink pierce gun, as I found out. He's now only 92 points as I run him, so he's actually reasonably priced. And his staff, I actually have a really good melee line backing squad because I got 2 Inquisitors. I got Callus, I can flip to his staff. I still have the IRG. They don't have any no tenacity, heavy, but they can still move, and hit. So I can do a fair bit of melee, holding up and also just punch. Like Callus, when I played the Wookiees 2 times in a row, both times he sort of like went and grabbed a Wookiee squad, and just kind of like stood there, and let the Inquisitors do all the pushing around and stuff. Because Callus, it took them like they couldn't just punch Callus down right away. It took them like 3 punches to do it. So yeah, I like I said, I basically had not played Empire before this. Played against them a lot, but all this random stuff is very against my nature to have like 4 characters in a squad.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's one more thing that I want to talk about with UKGT, and that's simply this is a little bit of a tangent, but basically, I guess so. There was not a painting competition, is that right?
Yes. So TLDR in the GT handbook, you can't do a painting prize, but you can do basically everyone who has a fully painted list. So like army, you put their name in a bucket and you do a raffle. Um, so yep. And then the prizes are a poster.
That's really silly. I mean, it's a miniatures game. Like, I don't know. I don't get not celebrating the hobby. I I heard that was essentially blamed on IP infringing rules. I don't really, I don't know. Maybe a copyright lawyer can explain that to me, but based on my limited understanding, I was under the impression that like fan made stuff is pretty much always exempt. Like as long as you're not trying to profit off of it, basically you can do whatever you want. So that's really strange to me, especially as previous official tournaments from both AMG and FFG have included significant amounts of prize support specific to painting competitions. Um, so, like I got a AMG stamped foil Han for some painting competition at some point at a official AMG supported event. Like I don't know. I don't really get why that's suddenly different. And it seems really lame to me. I don't know.
It's definitely not ideal.
Hopefully events can find their ways to do just their own painting competitions like Adepticon does with armies on parade and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like you need something.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just like, oh, just show up with a painted army, which is a requirement anyway, right? Like 3-color minimum. So you're just kind of doing a raffle for everybody that meets the basic requirements to participate in the tournament. I,
Yeah.
I don't know. Strange.
And it also like I have locals who like the game, play the game, but have no qualms about ever, actually winning tournaments anytime soon. But they're really good painters, and they want to be recognized for the thing they're better at than some or many of the competitive players.
Right.
I will definitely be interested to see if this is something that is perpetuated. I don't know. But this seems to be kind of the first major event that we've had that has this stipulation, I guess.
Well, to be clear too, this was the very first GT period.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
no doubt, no doubt. And it's possible that people will be following these rules across the board. I don't know.
I mean, I guess that sort of explains because we were curious about the quote unquote play it painted prizes, which is what it's called.
Oh, is that what that is? Those are
That's what
I think
those are.
so.
Yeah.
So I think based on that, this is in fact like a GT requirement that this is how you do the. You can't call it a painting competition. This is how you do the minimum painting requirement. There is no painting competition. So yeah, I'll be curious to see if conventions and or hosts are given any leeway to do their own thing with respect to a painting competition or not, because I think that would be look, we've talked about this on previous episodes. There's a number of things that I have a problem with from a competitive perspective with respect to the grand tournament structure and the requirements and everything, but like not allowing a painting competition for a hobby game is just utterly baffling to me. This is more baffling to me than how they're doing the time rules.
It's
Honestly.
definitely like kind of ludicrous. I don't really care because, like, to me,
I
it's
know you
like
don't.
it's like what like I look. I paint my stuff. I do the thing.
Yeah.
It's more out of obligation than anything else. Though I did have a very fun time playing in Delta Squad today. Um,
Yeah, so you posting your pictures earlier.
I did. I'm actually, yeah, I'm pretty excited to add some color to my clone army, which is cool.
Yeah.
But
I'm still in the assembly. I just put together the dude that's
one hand in
quick
the sniper
drawing his
rifle.
sniper rifle. Yeah.
Nice.
I know we
Cool.
already talked about the posing for the commandos, but the fact that they gave them different arm options and then made all the arms the exact same pose regardless of what gun they're holding.
I don't want to
Uh,
like sideline this too much, and I don't want to like gripe on things that we've been continually griping on for like a couple weeks now. But I gotta say, I did a lot of research into the Delta Squad because I was like trying to figure out
Yeah.
like I was like, you know what? I'm actually gonna paint these guys like this color. Like my army is like I would say very atypically painted as a clone army, and that my
Yep.
army is black for the most part as far
Mhm.
as like the armor and everything goes. So I was like trying to integrate the Delta Squad paint scheme. And man, they've got some really cool backpacks, guys. They have
In
some
canon, but not on
really,
the miniatures.
really cool cannon backpacks that, man, I don't know. Oof. I wish that they were like an option that was on those tiny sprues. Anyways, yeah. So, but I did have a great time painting them. But it is a shame, I think, to kind of bring it full circle that there is no painting competition allowed for GTs, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if, they just like didn't send prizes and they were like, go do your own thing. But and we'll see if that ends up being a thing that conventions are allowed to do. But from what I've heard so far, um, you know, it seems like, if one of the requirements for running a GT is that you follow the rules to the letter of the law, the TOs, I don't know if that's still the right term or not anymore, event organizers are essentially interpreting this as like you're not allowed to do it at all. And if that's the case, I, I I don't know. I don't have anything else to say except I'm utterly baffled by that. It's a hobby game. I don't know. Anyway, um, okay, let's move on to Indy Open.
Yeah, Indy Open was this weekend. Live streamed on, I believe, Indy Garrison
Yep.
on the Twitch and the YouTube. Bunch of good games. Would you know it? Experimental Droids won the tournament.
Yep.
There we
Tyler
go.
Carnes,
There we go.
congratulations. Yep.
Yep,
Experimental droids still a thing for
absolutely.
anybody that was curious.
I have to say I really enjoy the list name of the winner, knowing how
What
things went.
what was it? I didn't see what it was.
I'm Vengeance at Brian.
Ah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The final was definitely Tyler versus Brian. No,
Yeah, Brian Bear.
very two very
Who's
skilled players.
Yep. If I had to pick like two players that I would have expected to see at the final table, before the event started, it would have been those two, and that's what happened. So,
And
and then
one
yeah,
literally added the other in his list name. I love it.
yeah.
I will say, Brian, I'm watching you. Can't take free actions with guidance, mister.
Didn't we just talk about this 2 episodes ago?
I think so. He needs to listen to more Scoundrels.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot free action your supply drops with guidance.
Ooh.
Boom, boom, boom.
That also seems like a waste of I mean, why wouldn't you just guidance the
100%.
move?
I'm not disputing that. It's one of those things that as your opponent, you're like, I think I'm just gonna like let that slide because you used half of Yoda's activation to like medic a model back.
Yeah.
But um
You now
yeah.
you still can play the 1 pip on the first turn and move Yoda, touch the thing, double grab out of the thing, move again, double grab out of another one. Right?
You
Yeah.
can, I believe it is it any number of times or is it twice?
It's twice.
I'd have to reread the card, but
it's twice.
I think it's twice, right?
So you could do
Yeah.
so
You could tap a supply
do
drop twice. Yeah.
yeah.
On
Yep.
Yoda's activation, which I've done before. It's fun, but it is, yeah. But yeah, definitely can't guidance free actions. Just a good reminder of things like that. That's something I see like people miss all the time. So it's kind of whatever. But I know Brian listens to this and jab him when I can.
Yep.
But it was really cool to watch all the indie guys battle it out on stream. And definitely love to see Legion content in the open.
And that's one of the tougher local communities in
And
the US.
I mean I would say it's one of the I was gonna use a different adjective that started with T and I was gonna use thriving.
That's another accurate word.
Yeah. Thriving
Robust.
local communities, robust. Yeah. Definitely the guys out in Indy have a big following. So
They had 47 players.
yeah, and the majority of them were local, if not almost all of them. So
Yeah, that's impressive.
so yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
All right. Well, why don't we get to what everyone is probably waiting for, which is the Bad Batch, because we got a preview for the Bad Batch, baddest of batches. Yeah, let's break down like what they actually do.
Yeah. So we already had what, Hunter and Crosshair prior to I
Yep.
guess this week. Bad Batch, we got the rest of the Bad Batch unit cards. I would say that overall Hunter and Crosshair are probably the most interesting outside. I guess we had Omega too. Hunter, Omega, and Crosshair are the most interesting. Echo's card just adds reliable 3. Tech,
Which is boring but extremely useful.
which is very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Tech's card is cash, aim 1, and dodge 1. So you start the game with a cash, aim, and a dodge, and he also has tactical 1. And
reminder, they have steady natively, so that's proccing tactical twice.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So and then there's Wrecker, who has an extra health. Tacks a red die onto that model's range 2 pull, as well as kind of carrying the melee. And has some additional text, which I've been trying to figure out when this is ever going to be relevant based on how the rules presently work. But the text on the card says, while this miniature is on the battlefield, a friendly Omega in this unit cannot be assigned wounds.
I think it's just
cool, but I don't.
It's like non-competent, basically, right? In that if you're a rebel player and you've got Omega in your squad, it just means that you can't eliminate her first before Wrecker.
Which I wouldn't do anyway.
Well, that's the thing.
I think you would consider it like if you end up with an objective that doesn't have any claim actions.
I don't think so,
kind of her
because she's only 1 health and she significantly degrades your range pool for that 1 health that you're giving up.
Significantly, I mean, she has meleeed to 2 white dice, but for 1 wound you take a third of a Wrecker off or a whole model off.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. It's like you take a wound on Wrecker, or you give up 20% of your range dice and I know that it's like on the surface level, it's like, oh, this is 2 white dice, maybe not a big deal, but these guys get enough tokens that you're gonna be like,
You're gonna be
you're
spending
gonna
them.
be capping the pool out.
Yeah.
So like losing the ceiling on the pool is kind of a big deal. So I don't really get this text because like your opponent can't force you to assign wounds to a mega anymore with like the wound, how they've kind of changed wound allocation in the last like year and a half. So I just I don't know. I don't know what this is about, I guess is all I have to say about it.
I mean, it could just be mostly theme.
Yeah, which is fair, I guess. It should be noted, we have, I guess, maybe intentionally or unintentionally left out perhaps the most important part of.
I
Go
I
ahead.
I think I'm sorry. This is me thinking on the fly. I think I may have just thought my way into a scenario where the text would matter.
Okay. Go
Um,
on.
because when you shoot a squad, you can only do wounds up to the number that could be assigned to that squad, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you
Up
stick,
up to the number that you can see.
yeah, this will probably be a form ruling. Someone should make it. If you can only see Omega and Wrecker is on the field, can you do any wounds to that squad?
Can you damage them at all?
Yeah. I don't know.
I would make the argument that you rules
I
as
would say that
written
you
you
can.
could,
It
and
would just be one wound at a
it would just
time.
only be one wound at a time.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably correct, but I could see that being ruled
That's like the
differently.
intention of what's going on here. That would be, I mean,
Well, no, that seems pretty clear to me because of how the wound assignment rules work. It just says that Omega cannot be assigned wounds, whereas the language around wound is like the cap on wound assignment about models being seen. You're not actually assigning those seen models rules.
True.
Sorry,
True. True.
wounds.
True.
if that's the
Um,
intent, that it would be wild because it is such a departure from like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
also
yeah.
even if that's not the intent, that seems like a pretty silly strategy if you can just
Yeah.
like because it's
Stick
an
Omega out. And
yeah,
do
I mean
every-
let's see how many wounds is the Rebel version? I guess it's
Mm,
10, right?
it is one less than the
Yeah,
Republic
so it's
version.
10. So yeah, you have a 10 model unit where if you stick Omega out there by herself, presumably to like score an objective or something, you can only take one wound at a time forever until you're down to Hunter and Omega. uh, Now I know that you can do this with like, B1s, right? Where you just stick if you just stick the unit leader out there. But it's significantly harder to like hide the rest of a large unit when you're sticking the unit leader out there because cohesion only gets you so far than it is to hide like, if you stick one non-unit leader model out there and then you do your 4 inches to your unit leader and then you've got like another 4 inches to work with to hide the rest of the models. That's very different from
Yeah.
a actual like logistically trying to pull this off perspective. So I could definitely see situations where you're scoring an intercept point or you want to like tap a VAP a
Yeah.
couple times in a dangerous spot and you just stick Omega out there by herself.
Well, to be clear, just to
Oh,
I guess
sorry,
clarify,
tapping a VAP is
you
not.
cannot
Yeah.
score intercept
With
with
Omega.
Omega.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
only claim and sabotage /
Okay.
repair.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good. I just,
Yeah.
it's basically the objectives where the unit leader actually takes an action
Yep.
to like procure something, pick something up, do something. It's got to be like action related, essentially.
Yep. Makes sense. Okay.
So, there's also a command card that came along with the Bad Batch, usable by both the Republic and the Rebel version. And I guess before we go too much farther, I would like to circle back to this, but I just want to like touch on it very topically. The Rebel version is a mercenary unit,
Which means you cannot give them orders unless you have underworld connections, which Rebels usually have trouble putting on somebody relevant.
yes,
You can also use ploy with them.
you can.
Yep.
You can.
But that's it for your Rebel command options, basically.
Yep.
One more thing I want to do before we get to this command card, because
Yep.
there's a lot of keywords on this command card, is why don't we like sum up, if you have all the models in the unit, what the actual keywords are on the unit, and what their dice pool and stuff is.
Somebody made a spreadsheet for this.
Which should tell you how silly it is.
So I'm just gonna start with the Republic version.
Okay.
So we have Equip, Hunter, Wrecker, Echo, Tech, Crosshair.
Yep.
They're kind of
Whatever.
non-keywords.
Yeah.
We've got Impervious.
Mhm.
So rolling extra dice against Pierce. We have Scale. For all our intents and purposes, you're ignoring difficult terrain when moving. Steady, you
Which is
shoot
still
after.
good.
It's still great. Steady, you shoot after you move. Sharpshooter 1, ignoring light cover or whatever. We're not regs. You can't spend green tokens from other clone trooper units, and other clone trooper units can't spend your green tokens, which matters based on how many green tokens this
Yes.
unit gets access to.
Mhm.
And you cannot be fire supported. Notably, we're not regs does not preclude you from using tokens from exemplar units.
Right.
Which is important, or Yoda. Okay. Additional keywords that you have. There are no weapon keywords on their unit card. Crosshair. If you just fire with Crosshair, the attack pool gains critical 1. Additionally, his gun has high velocity. And I'm going to kind of group those together because they're kind of like high velocity obviously only triggers if it's the only thing in the pool, right?
Right. Yep.
And then he's also got Pierce 1 and Precise 1. Pierce 1 and Precise 1 we can kind of like attribute to the whole unit.
Right. Yep.
Right. Then we got Echo, who we just talked about, has reliable 3, so 3 surge tokens at the top of the turn. We have Hunter, who doesn't have a keyword, but I mean, I guess he does. He has the leader keyword, but he's got free action. Choose a non-commander or operative enemy trooper unit at range 1 and in LOS line of sight. Roll a black attack die on a hit or crit result. That unit suffers 1 wound. You're essentially flipping a coin.
It's force choke via coin flip instead of automatically happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tech.
Except Inquisitors can't cancel this one.
Yes. It also doesn't require you to recover it.
Right. Yep.
This unit gains cash aim 1 and dodge 1 and tactical 1 on tech. And then Wrecker doesn't have any keywords, he just got the weird Omega text. A lot of keywords on the squad. Omega obviously adds her keywords, and you lose Crosshair in the Rebel version.
What's the health and dice pool and stuff for the 2 versions?
Sure. So for the Republic version, the die pool is the health pool is 11 hit points. You are firing 2 red, 4 black, 4 white at
Which is 10
range 2.
dice. Yep.
Which is 10 dice. You can, if you would like to make that 1 red less. Basically, you sub Crosshair's weapon out for a black and a white die. I don't think you're going to do that often because you also lose Pierce 1 in that situation.
And Precise 1.
And Precise 1. I don't think you lose Precise. Precise isn't a weapon keyword.
That's true. Okay. That's going to be confusing to some people.
It is definitely going to be confusing to some people. But you definitely don't lose the Precise. You do lose the Pierce. And I maybe you do that if you're like shooting B1s or something in like no
Or something that's Pierce immune.
something that's Pierce immune. Maybe if you're gonna cap the pool out, that losing the red die, it's kind of like half a dozen of one, half a dozen the other between
with
the red
with the number of aims they get. I think losing the Precise 1 is even against immune Pierce things. I don't think you're really ever doing that.
Well, but I think you don't lose the Precise 1. It's because that's
you definitely do not lose the Precise 1. It's not a weapon keyword.
I think, at least for me, the only reason I'd ever do that is if I was swinging for the fences and actually needed to.
Like you need to hit a very specific wound threshold, I think, is where you might do that. And your target is also like immune, Pierce, or impervious.
Right.
In contrast, the Rebel version, loses crosshair, but goes up to 11 dice because you're throwing 2 white instead of a red. And has 1 less health. The rebel version. So I guess there's technically 2 rebel versions. You're not required to take Omega. She's 10 points. Bad Batch in Rebels is 140. Republic it's 160. If you take Omega in the Rebel version, it's 150. I actually think that there's a world where you might consider taking the Rebel version for 140. It's still a pretty solid unit for 140 as opposed to 150. I'm not, I don't know.
It seems like you would just find the extra 10 points.
I agree. It's still like very cheap for what you're getting.
Yeah.
If Omega goes up points and or like the unit itself goes down, maybe one day, but for now, I don't see myself ever not taking Omega.
I agree for the most part. So can we get to the spicy command card now?
Yeah, so that's already a slab of beef, basically, is what we established here. Massive slab of beef.
Yeah, I guess I'm not. Are we in the hot take session?
We'll get, yeah. Let's hit the command card and then we'll get there.
Okay. Their command card is a 3-pip. They have 1 command card and 1 command card only. It is available to both versions. It is we do what we do. Very, very creative name. It orders only the Bad Batch, and it is the Bad Batch who is issuing it. I was thinking about this. Is this the only command card that is like unit specific that doesn't have a picture in the top right corner of who is issuing the order?
I think so.
Okay. That was just something I noticed about this that I don't know. Just
I mean, it says
I don't think
Bad
it's a
Batch.
big deal.
It's definitely different.
Yeah. I think the only reason I bring that up is because like I know at one point in time there was like something about there was like a rules text regarding like
that reference the portrait
that like you could still play a card if it didn't have the portrait. You know, I don't know if I'm gonna have to look. Anywho, this issue is just in order to adjust the Bad Batch, and it basically turns your slab of beef into a beefier slab of beef that turn. This round,
a faster slab of beef.
Yeah, which is probably the most important part. This round, while the Bad Batch contains Hunter, they increase their speed by 1. They're normally speed 2. This jacks them up to speed 3. They're like Mandalorians with steady this turn, obviously without jump. While it contains tech, they gain tactical 1. So tech's keywords go from tactical 1 to tactical 2. Okay, so you're getting 2 aims every move.
Or 4 aims in the activation.
Yeah.
It's a lot of aims.
While it contains echo, they gain reliable 1, which means echo's keywords go from reliable 3 to reliable 4. While it contains crosshair, they gain precise 1. So you go from precise 1 on Crosshair's card to precise 2. I'm sure you're noticing a theme at this point. Congratulations, this is where the theme ends. While it contains Omega, they gain While it contains Wrecker, their weapons gain suppressive.
That's pretty good.
Yes. There's a couple very important things to note, I think, about this command card. The first is that things on this command card you can lose over the course of a turn. This doesn't like check at any particular point in the turn, which is important because that also means that these keywords are happening outside their activation. So if you have Yoda and you're like guidancing them, they still are triggering tactical 2 as opposed to tactical 1 and then firing steady, and their guns still have suppressive during that too,
and they still have precise 2,
and they still have precise 2, and they have speed 3, so it's a good command card. It's a little unfortunate, I think, that it's a 3-pip, but it is a very good command card. They will always have, when you play this, they will always have speed 3. That is the only thing that will always be on.
Yeah, because Hunter's the last one to die.
Hunter has to die last.
Yep. And that's actually the best part of the card too. So
by a lot.
By a lot. Yeah. A lot of these kind of strike me as overkill. I mean,
I would say
this basically, it depends on whether you have Yoda or not, right? Because that gives you another window to spend tokens.
I think I would like to contain the rest of this conversation in 2 separate segments.
Okay.
Bad Batch on their own and Bad Batch with Yoda.
Yeah.
Because I think they are 2 separate units.
Oh, clearly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about just Bad Batch on their own, I mean, this you're going to max out your attack pool on whatever turn you play this. You're going to get 10 paint.
That I'm not convinced of.
I mean, look, I know there's a lot of white dice in there. I'm sure there are times where you'll get 9, right? I guess it's similar to the Bosk lying in wait situation here, right? But you've got 4 aims, and you've got precise 2. So, think of like a Death Trooper pool with 4 aims.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you're like, sometimes you can only rewrite you only if it's not like you get 12 rerolls and you can use them in any order you want.
Right.
You can only reroll each white die 4 times, and sometimes they just don't do the thing you want them to do, right?
Right.
Yeah, but also rerolling a white die 4 times with potential surge access is, as they say, enough usually.
This unit's busted. There's no room for discussion, I think, on whether the unit is busted or not. It's really just a question of where on the busted spectrum does this unit fall?
And you played them at this point.
I have played them.
Add as well.
I've played them without Yoda at this juncture because I kind of wanted to establish a baseline of like, how busted is this unit? This unit's real good. I would say, I don't know. Is it it just checks all the boxes. It is, I think pound for pound is at least defensively the best unit for its points in the game. At least the Republic version. And if it's not, it gives whatever unit it's sharing that title with a run for its money, I think, on the offensive side of things.
I think there are some units with the armor keyword, particularly that are more durable, but they definitely don't hit as hard.
Yeah, and I think I'm assuming that you're referencing like Dark Troopers there.
Dark Troopers, specifically, but I think there are probably like depending on how you factor in, pools that have impact pierce combinations, etc., like the Saber Tank, the AAT, not that much more expensive, and they have only slightly fewer wounds, but the armor keyword blocking all the shots.
Sure.
So yeah, but the point is, it's in the conversation, and their offense, at least once you get to range 2, which is short, but steady makes up for that in a big way.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, they hit like a truck.
What I found so far is that they delete most of a unit every shot. They're gonna make whatever they shoot at feel some pain. It did not feel that different than firing with full arcs at range 2.
That's fair.
And in fairness, the pool's not that different as long as you've got a full suite of guys.
Yeah.
You just have to spend aims on different, like the arcs, the aims are not as good, and you don't have native pierce.
And you don't have as many surges natively on the unit.
Yes, 100%. So it's a lot easier to convert. But it's sort of rolling an attack with Bad Batch sort of feels like I rolled my full arc pool and man, that was a good shot kind of feel every time sort of situation. I get to spend my aim on lethal instead of re-rolling dice sort of thing, you know?
Right. Yep.
So I think offensively, they feel like that. The one thing that I did not expect is that they are far more efficient than that on offense because of two things. Hunter and Crosshair. The ability to pick multiple unit leaders off every turn, which tend to be on the table more because you're almost one-shotting units a lot. Is high. Crosshair just instantly deletes them in a way that Echo does not, as long as they're not in heavy cover.
Right.
And Hunter just has a 50% chance to kill them if you're at range 1, which is not that hard. For a couple reasons. The first is the like ability on Hunter like still allows you to cohere a model out like ahead of you and extend your range 1 band. It is not range 1 from Hunter.
So it's actually better than Force Choke in that situation.
100%. I mean, it still only works half the time, but
sure, yeah.
But like,
50% of the time it works every time.
And when it works, it feels real dirty.
Yeah, because you're doing it in addition to slapping something with their ginormous attack pool.
Yeah, and it's not that hard to like move, cohere out, steady, free action, knife something, move back. Like that is a very reasonable play pattern. So yeah, the range on the knife is really like almost range 2.
It's a throwing knife.
Yes. Yeah.
Boomerang.
Yeah, it's super good. I played a game against Double Bust Luke. I lost, frankly, but that was not Bad Batch's fault. I couldn't get the hostage away from Luke Skywalker. Sometimes that's just how it rolls. I didn't have a force user because I was like trying to mess with Bad Batch, and we ended up on hostage exchange. Bad Batch soloed the rest of the army with only taking 1 wound. So yeah. These guys are gonna be busted with Yoda. To a point where like it's the first thing I'm doing when they come out.
They're gonna be proxy legal for our tournament at the end of June.
You get 7 aim tokens with their 3-pip on turn 1 with Yoda. 7. I mean, I'm including the cash aim, and you get to shoot twice. And you're moving speed 3.
Let's look at what you can actually fit.
I can tell you because I put the list together several times.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is Yoda with just force push because you got to kind of keep it lean and mean. 2 clone commandos. That's 3, right? You have 3 core units, 2 with RPSs, and I think 1 with like a Z6 or something. You have a clone commander to set up the fire supports for your 2 clone commando squads with your RPSs, and then you've got Bad Batch, and it's 8 activations. And yeah, it's a little light on like the spices of life, but you have Yoda and Bad Batch and 6 other things in your list that all actually kind of cohesively work together. And I don't know, you're like, turn 1, I play, what's the name of this card? We do what we do, and then you do what they do twice. And the range that you can get to with Yoda, the range 3, like I'm pretty sure Bushman was like doing the math in Discord the other day. It's like just about range 6. Like you can touch something that's range 6 away from wherever Bad Batch started the turn.
3 speed, 3 moves is really far.
It's burst of speed implacable.
Yeah.
Right? There is exactly one other unit that can do that is a trooper model.
Yes.
I guess 2 if you're counting the Vaders to be separate units. But it's kind of the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Vader's the only other one that can do that.
Yeah. It's silly fast. Very good. And then you get to follow up with Luminous Beings Are We and just give your Bad Batch more tokens.
I just plucked one, or not plucked, but one Yoda more stuff, push versus speed barrier, Bad Batch, 3 commandos, and then 2 naked phase 1s and a phase 2 with Boyle.
Yeah, you
I
definitely
still
if
have
you
room for
want to cut
Protector
the
if I want it.
if you want to cut the heavies on the core, you can definitely kind of like spice it up for sure.
I do think the commando RPS fire support combo is too good to leave at home personally.
That's how I feel about it. I'm just playing that like candy right now because 5 red, 1 black and white at range 4 is with Pierce. Yeah. It is
I just fit it.
Yeah. It's like pretty hard to leave at home. And yeah, I guess a couple things to note as long as we're talking about Bad Batch and Yoda, because I'm sure people are gonna try it. You may not shoot twice during Yoda's activation on his 1 pip with Bad Batch. That is an important thing to consider.
And that's because his 1 pip applies only to him and not to.
Correct. Yes. I mean, like you can guidance Bad Batch to move twice in his 1 pip, but they can only fire once within the same activation. You can only ever attack once inside your activation, inside anyone's activation.
Yep.
Unless you have something like a Taru or Barrage. So just keep that in mind because there's going to be people that mess that up.
You could still double move them to get them somewhere and attack with 2 double aim.
Yeah, I actually I'm gonna have to look this up. I'm not sure if the standby clause applies. Like if you can like move, shoot, and then standby with them because it's not during their activation. That's something I'm gonna have to look up if the standby attack clause is
yeah, because then you can
purely
move, shoot, guidance, standby, and then force push something to trigger the standby.
Well, no.
Oh no, because that would be another attack during the same
with,
activation.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets weird. It
does get weird. Yeah.
So I'll have to look up the standby thing. That's something I haven't figured out yet. But because you can't attack twice during their activation, it feels like it's probably not. I don't know. Anywho, firing twice with perhaps the best unit in the game every turn seems pretty good.
Yeah.
A unit cannot perform an attack action and a standby action in the same activation.
Okay, cool. So you can't do that. Great. Yep. Awesome. So I think all of those things are true about the Rebel or the Republic version. I have concerns in also. I think there are pros and cons for the Rebel version.
Go on.
I think a couple things. The Rebel version has a much better transport to put these guys in and deliver them to weird places for Omega to do spicy stuff.
And medics.
And they've also got cheaper medics, which is definitely something to consider, as well as the bus having a medic. They also can really jack the activation counts up while also having uh like taking like Ahsoka next to these guys. You know, you can also guardian them with Chewbacca.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of combo. Like, look, Rebels are good with combo-y stuff. I think the issue with the Bad Batch and Rebels is the order thing. This unit wants orders, like real bad. So I think you have to find a way to make that work. You know, whether that's like through a combination of like underworld connections and also having ploy and like the thing about it, the thing that I immediately found in the list that I was playing was that I was really glad I had Padme because she was basically outside of Padme and Yoda. You cannot really issue these guys an order with a 1-pip unless you've got like some sort of 5 shenanigans going on.
Yeah, because they don't have a training slot, so you can't give them C's.
And I just want to like complain about that for a second.
The fact that they don't have any slots at all.
Well, they have 5, but
Sure,
obviously
they're all
mandatory.
mandatory. Yeah, there's literally no way to build them except
I'm a little bit unhappy with that after kind of like, and I want to explain why, and then I want to, I guess, you know, if you guys want to kick in, and then we can move on. But it really takes the fun out of like figuring out cool things you can do with the unit and the creativity that you're allowed to like do. Like this is like the first Republic unit that I would really love to be able to stick comms jam on.
Yeah.
Or just try it out. You know, it probably wouldn't be very good, but maybe it would be. I don't know. I'd just like to try it. This unit seems like it's like a prime unit to have a bunch of cool upgrade slots.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's not like they couldn't physically fit them on the card because there are units that have more than 5 upgrade slots.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I get the like this contained idea, I think, of what's going on here. I just it would be cool if you could customize these guys, I guess, in any way.
Gar Saxon has 7 upgrade slots, just as an example.
Yeah.
Lol. I have a similar vein but very different complaint about that, which is why can't we attach these guys to other units? Or where's our separate like hunter commander unit card?
Is that like a reflection though of, I mean, maybe you could argue a different story in Rebels, but they kind of sort of explicitly work just as a self-contained team in the context of the clone army, pretty much always.
I agree.
Right?
In the like, as mercs, they're a little bit more independent, but yes, I do.
It seems like there's
that...
a thematic reason at least for that. If not, you know, it would be cool to break that mold a little bit. But yeah, like I think this is is this the first operative besides R2 that doesn't have a training slot?
K2.
K2 probably. I think most of the
K2,
robots
the first non-droid operative that doesn't have a training slot.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I guess Op Vader's got 2 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really strange to me. Like, you know, operatives, it seems like the thing for operatives is customization. It's an area to kind of express your list creativity. And the fact that there's literally only, I mean, take Omega or not for the Rebels, I guess, but you know, for Republic, there's literally only one way to run them.
I mean, it's definitely the first unit in the game, I think, that basically doesn't have upgrade slots at all.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Assuming we're counting
all
the
their upgrade
mandatory
slots are mandatory.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
I mean,
I'm trying to think
nothing
of
else
another unit.
comes to mind for me. Like I don't.
There's a couple.
Even
or at
swoops
least
have like a
one.
comm slot, right?
Yeah,
Swoops have one. Like there's like a few with like one just a comm slot.
Yeah.
But
um,
the Battle Force. No, they still have it. Never mind. Never mind. Backtrack.
Yeah, and that's just super boring to me. Like,
it's definitely like I was like once I put this unit on the table and was like played around with them once, I was like, damn, man, I really wish that I could like play around with this beyond just having the unit, you know?
yeah, recon intel, frag grenades, like any number of 4 or 5 different training upgrades, comms jammer. These are all things that I could see putting on this unit and having it be interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
like I don't know. Anywho, I don't think it's a huge deal because I do think the unit is pretty interesting on its own.
Sure, yeah.
But it is a little bit of a gripe I have. But yeah, I think, you know, fairly priced? Question mark?
It is a very expensive trooper unit that doesn't have a force slot.
It is.
I mean, officially, it's the most expensive non-force trooper unit.
Uh, I mean, there are Dark Troopers.
Yep. True.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can make them with all the things. They're like 230?
I mean,
232?
arguably, an effective Dark Trooper unit's minimum cost is significantly more than that.
That's true. Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
Uh, 200 on the dot.
yeah,
But Dark Troopers also get to go twice all the time,
they do.
just as a rule. So
They do. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna continue messing around with these guys. I definitely my quick snap reaction was these guys are like OP, super busted, need to be nerfed like tomorrow. After playing with them once, maybe that's not the case. There are gonna be like lists that just lose to Bad Batch. um and yeah.
The one definite weakness Bad Batch is against armor.
They
They're-
do not have very
they're-
good impact options, no.
another reason to run that double RPS combo with clone commandos alongside your Bad Batch.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Yeah.
Republic has the tools to deal.
Yeah, Rebels more debatable. So one final question. What order are you killing bottles off in this unit?
Ooh, I actually I'm not sure if did somebody pin this in our chat. I had a pretty good answer to this, or at least what I thought was the answer. And I think after playing them once, I actually think the answer to that question is fluid.
Okay.
More fluid than you would expect it to be.
Okay, go on.
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that. So my original order was Wrecker, Tech, Crosshair, Echo.
Okay.
In that order.
Yep.
Wrecker goes first because he's got 3 wounds and basically delays. He staggers. You instead of losing guys at 2, 4, 6, etc., you lose guys at 3, 5, 7. He kicks the
can down the road for
And
losing firepower.
Yeah.
He also doesn't have any keywords. He just has the one extra red.
He also doesn't have any keywords. Then you kill Tech. Tech's really just given up tactical.
Yeah, because by that time you've probably spent your cash tokens.
You've definitely spent the dodge.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
And if you haven't, you messed up.
Yep.
And you've probably spent the cash aim at that point. And then you go with Crosshair. Crosshair's got Pierce, which I think overall is a more effective keyword than tactical, though I could see exchanging the place on them depending on the matchup. Again, if you need like just sheer volume of dice, I could see killing Crosshair before tech.
If you're trying to clear out B1 hordes, then you might change your order.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say, at least with tactical, like once they're kind of in, you can just aim and then move, and then tactical really only costs you one aim.
Yes, for sure.
So,
and I think in all situations, Echo is last.
yeah,
You
reliable.
cannot give up reliable 3 on this unit ever at all. I shouldn't say ever. Like 98% of the time, Echo should probably be last. Now, I think that order is like pretty generically good, with the caveat that if you need them to be able to deal with getting out of melee, Wrecker probably needs to stay alive.
Yep, having 3 dice there is a big deal.
It's a
versus the 1.
That also is a thing of the Bad Batch in general. Want to be run with a Jedi, so that they can be pulled out, or like not them themselves pulled, but you can get them out of melee much easier.
Yeah,
they're a lot less effective in melee.
Yes.
Yeah, they're still pretty good.
Yeah,
like 5 red, a black, and a white in melee is nothing to scoff at. And notably, they're actually like pretty resilient to like getting screwed by like a solo unit leader suiciding themselves into the unit to like melee them, because Hunter can just ship them.
Yep.
50% of the time it works every time.
50% of the time it works every time, and when it works, it's gonna feel real good. You know? So, but yeah, I do think that they have a little weakness to melee. So I mean, like, definitely if you're able to fit a force push in there, and so that they can keep the machine gun rolling, if you will, that's important. But my Bad Batch did get tied up in melee. I think in hindsight, I wished I had rushed Luke with Bad Batch
and just started slapping him with Bad Batch, basically.
I think that that's actually what I needed to do to win that game, because honestly, they're pretty resilient to a lightsaber between impervious and having cash dodge and melee, like, and they're swinging back with a better lightsaber, I'm air quote lightsaber, than most other force users have.
And they have 10 to 11 health, which is almost twice as much health as most force users do.
Yeah, and it's behind impervious, so you're not, yeah, I don't know.
They also have reliable 3, and a lot of force users, the ones that don't have block or gemso or whatever,
are only 50-50 in melee.
Right, so they might be surging on defense in melee, whereas the force user is not.
Yeah, they're almost certainly surging on defense in melee, because you're probably just like aim attacking, and then you're rolling a bunch of red dice, so
you're not going to be wasting the surges on that, probably.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was actually like set on playing experimental droids for this tournament at the end of June, and then they were like, we're gonna allow Bad Batch proxies, and now I'm like, like, why you gotta do this to me? So I might have to just do that. I don't know. The thing is, like, I know what experimental droids does. I don't know how much testing value there is in running it, other than testing it against Bad Batch and Clone Commandos.
Yeah.
I guess. So maybe that's valuable in its own right, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely
they look super good.
They're definitely super good. Just a question of how good. I expect basically every Republic and Rebel army for the foreseeable like 3 months, once they come out, to basically just like people just stick Bad Batch in it and be on their way.
Gonna be so many Bad Batch mirrors.
Yeah, for sure. Whether that's going to be fun or not, I think maybe is a question for a podcast in a month and a half from now. And every game we've played ever has Bad Batch in it. But I am looking to forward to being able to put more paint and colorful paint in my clone army. So
Yeah, some of their like later season armor schemes are pretty crazy, right?
yeah, and notably their armor already is like basically my color scheme. So
The gray with the red stripes.
yeah. So it kind of like flashes with what I'm doing anyways. So they're gonna fit right in. Uh, so I'm pretty pumped about that for sure.
Right. Well, any final thoughts, gentlemen? Nope.
Not really.
All right.
I miss Ireland.
You miss Ireland. Do they have Bad Batch there? Is that why you miss it?
They everything's been delayed for the UK. Sorry, UK.
Yeah, so they don't even have clone commandos yet, right? Or
Wait,
troopers?
what? Wait, we being serious right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
UK doesn't have clone commandos?
Nope. Or range troopers.
What? We've had them for like a month.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know. Supply situation. Something fell off the boat, maybe. I don't know.
So they're not even. Is it that they're not legal? Like, could I go? Like, could I have played Clone Commandos with the UKGT?
No.
So they're not even like.
It has to be locally available to be legal, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I mean, people are playing them at their like proxying them or bringing product in, but like yeah, at the official events, they have to be locally legal or locally available.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sure we've got some extra if you want them. Just ping your North American buddies, and
Yeah, we'll ship
do
them to
what we
you
can.
the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, our stuff won't fall off boats.
Yep.
Except the time it did.
Except the time it did. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Mike.
I'm Timbo.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.